neighbours' wives, the tricks of the company spies. She couldn't be fooled by company school. She'd always organise the guys. She always got her way, went to strike for higher pay. She stole her card to the National Guard, and this is what she'd say. Oh, you can't scare me, I'm sticking to the Union. I'm sticking to the Union. I'm sticking to the Union. Oh, you can't scare me, I'm sticking to the Union. I'm sticking to the Union till the day I die. As Union women today, we won't be called a maid. At home and work, we're of equal worth, and we'll fight till we all get equal pay. That sister long ago steered us towards our goal, and we won't fail our history trail. We'll fight with heart and soul. Oh, you can't scare me, I'm sticking to the Union. I'm sticking to the Union. I'm sticking to the Union. Oh, you can't scare me, I'm sticking to the Union. I'm sticking to the Union till the day I die. Oh, you can't scare me, I'm sticking to the Union. I'm sticking to the Union. I'm sticking to the Union. Oh, you can't scare me, I'm sticking to the Union. I'm sticking to the Union till the day I die.
Chainmakers were some of the most exploited workers in this country. Their work was hard, physical, and generally carried out by women. Low pay and poor working conditions were endemic. It took a strike organised by the National Federation of Women Workers for unscrupulous employers to recognise their responsibility to pay fair rates of pay.
So we're here today in Cradley Heath for the Chainmakers event with some wonderful characters from the Black Country, remembering the great Mary Macarthur and other characters like Patience Round. But we're here with Harry, who's one of our great ambassadors for the Duncan Edwards Foundation. And there's lots of people here celebrating everything to do with the Black Country.
And I'm saying nothing except goodbye.
My name's Ben Benson, I'm from the Musicians Union, I'm the regional officer. You can join for just £1 for the first 6 months, so it's a really good time to join.
We had an agreement, you were going to pay me 8 shilling, and I want my 8 shilling, you've paid me 7. Where's the other shilling?
I've cut you a shilling down because you've already done 7 shillings worth of work. If you do 8 shillings worth of work, I'll pay your 8 shillings.
That's a lie!
It is not a lie. I've weighed your chain and you have done 7 shillings worth of work.
You're a liar!
There is a liar.
You can't feed my family and pay my rent unless we're already on starvation wages. I can't afford to have you cheat me out of that shilling. I want that shilling.
Well, what's that got to do with me? If you worked a little bit harder.
I work from sun up in the morning till sundown at night. I don't stop. I do not stop. I can't do any more than I've already done. You owe me. I only want what I deserve, what I've worked for.
You can work a little bit faster, can't you? You work a little bit faster. You chain right way worth 8 shillings.
I'm going to let him get away with that. This is daylight robbery.
He did it last month. He's trying to rob a shilling off me. You're trying to rob a shilling off me. I've got a family to feed it all. What are you doing about it all?
You've done it to her.
You've done it to me. I went and bought that iron off you. And I made that chain. You ain't paid me. And I've had to try and teach these pair how to do it, and you won't pay me. How am I supposed to hate these?
Well, you ain't going to pay for teaching them how to make chain, am I? Why should I pay for them learning?
Because it's your chain. I made it. I made it. They ain't made it. Well, you won't pay me.
No, I won't pay you. I won't pay you at all. Because it is substandard.
I ain't meant to chain. These pair were learning how to do it.
You're a militant prison. Well, maybe they might learn how to do it properly.
I just want what I've made. I want the money. You owe me and I want it now.
I paid you what you have earned. And not a penny more.
Bradley, you was one of us. You know what people like you.
Stop accusing people of rubbing you.
Arrest him! I just want what on oath. That's all I'm asking for. I don't want any trouble. I just want you owe me a shilling. You know you do. You know I can't afford.
Don't waste your breath on the likes of this.
You're supposed to be upholding the law.
I am upholding the law.
Hey, he's just a young family man. We've all got family.
I've got a family and I've got a family to feed. And the likes of her keep stealing a shilling off me every week.
I just want my shilling. I've got proof that I made that.
Go while you can, because if you don't, I know your bloody husbands are the same. You're all bloody militants in your family, the three of you.
Why? Because we stand up for what we want.
Yes.
Right.
I don't want any trouble. I just want one of them. Just a shilling and I'll go away peacefully. I'm already losing time here. I should be back home. I work 7 days a week from sun up till sundown, just so that you can, so that he can. But you're going to stand there and let him do it.
He's upholding the law, and the law is to look after hard-working folks like me.
You're the criminal here.
I am no criminal.
I tell you what you're going to do is turn around and go. Or I'll put you and the likes of these two in a cell so bloody low, so dark, that no one even knows that you're there, and they won't miss you and your families with you. Yes, I will.
I hope I didn't hear you threatening these ladies here, because if anything happens to these women, I will not be able to guarantee the actions of the men of my Chainmakers and Strikers Association.
Are you threatening me? I'm the law.
Of course I'm not threatening you, Chief Constable. Would I threaten the Chief Constable? Of course I wouldn't. But I would remind you, sir, I would remind you that your officers here walk down some very dark streets and alleyways in Cradley Heath.
Officer, what are we supposed to do about people like him and him? How can we stand up? What have we haven't even got a leg to stand on. He can rub me blind and nobody does anything about it.
The two women need to join the National Federation of Women Workers. Our union will take you out on strike. You lay down your tools, you stop working, it's going to hurt men like him.
Why don't you listen? Stop bloody interfering! Clear off! You are from a privileged background. You should know better than to incite this lot. To incite this lot to break the law. You should.
Me, I'm not from a privileged background. I've worked my back off in the mills of your.
You've already served time. You've already served bloody time. Now don't make it big in a second time.
And I'll tell you something, I'll serve time again if it gets these ladies what they do.
You tell him.
And you say you're not militant? My God. You watch these two. You watch these two. If I any step out of line, you'll lock them up.
Women go out on strike. What will the chain managers do? How will they make their money? Our union will take these women out on strike for as long as it takes.
Yes. What are we going to do?
I will raise money. I have many friends in many different circles who will raise money to support you while you are not at work. It will feed your children.
Can you guarantee that?
I can guarantee, definitely.
Well, you got more vote, Tommy.
Sacked, you'll never make another link to change. Now be all over. Yeah. You'll have to watch it from now.
Every single link of chain that slips through your greedy fingers is armoured with the sweat and toil of these poor ladies.
I don't appreciate it. I might make a couple of quid. Like these kids over here, if they worked a little bit harder.
We're going this a day's work in your life, though. The kids out there,
poor apprentices work for nothing when they leave school, sir.
How can you stand by and watch them kids work for nothing, because that's what they do. It's a fortnight before they're even paid, and then you don't pay them anything because you pay them a pittance because their work's substandard. They've got to learn the trade.
This poor girl here has lost her mother. She's now learning the trade. She's not been paid for a fortnight.
Oh, a fortnight? That's disgusting.
Should be ashamed of yourself. And these women work 12-hour days at the forge, work until the last minute, go home, give birth, and they're back at work within a few hours. They're poor young babies in the chain shop with them.
When did you go without a meal, Miss Macarthur? When did you go out without a meal?
That is nothing to do with
Yes,
you.
it is. It's got everything to do with it. Why don't you give some of your wealth to them then? Why don't you?
The difference with her and her privileges is using her privilege to help the likes of us, not like you.
You are so close. You are so close to being put in the bloody cell. What are you going to do?
You lock us up. You lock up everybody.
You've all been bloody warned.
I don't think you've got enough cells. You ain't got enough cells for all this lot back.
And we could take over the town hall if you get
Let you listen to Miss Julia Varley here.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I firstly thank you all for putting your faith in joining us in the fight to struggle to right the wrongs, the injustices that you have had to face, toiling away all these hours in a day, back-breaking work. And for what? Well, things will change. You put your faith in the union, and we will show you the way forward. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honour to introduce Secretary of the Chainmakers Association, Mr. Thomas Sitch.
Thank you, Miss Varley. Thank you very much. As I look around me, I see friends, I see colleagues, I see members of my own Chainmakers and Strikers Association. You all know me, Thomas Sitch. Like many of you here, I started work in a chain shop aged 8, blowing the bellows in a forge. I went on to become a striker myself, and now I'm very proud to represent many of you men here in my Chainmakers and Strikers Association. I came here with a carefully prepared speech, ready to read out to you, but I'm going to tear that speech up, because I'm going to speak to you straight from the heart. Make no mistake, this dispute is personal. The chain-making women that we've come here to support today do not fight alone. They are mothers, they are wives, they are daughters, granddaughters even, of many of you men here. And I absolutely guarantee that the Chainmakers and Strikers Association will give them 100% support. Now let us go back for a moment to reflect on how this unjust and unfair dispute came about. We go back to 1906, Miss Mary Macarthur here, J.J. Mellon, George Cadbury and others formed the Anti-Sweating League in order to put pressure on our Liberal government to do something about the so-called sweated industries. And if the work these women are doing isn't a sweated industry, then I don't know what is. Long hours, up to 55 hours a week, terrible working conditions, red hot forges, constant hammering, babies, young children in the chain shops with their mothers because there is nowhere else for them to go. And the pay, no fixed rates, but piecework of approximately a penny farthing an hour. A penny farthing for an hour's sweated labour. Now you may recall just last year, 1909, Winston Churchill pushed the Trade Board Bill through Parliament and enabled trade boards to be set up. The Chain Trade Board set a minimum wage of twopence halfpenny an hour, double what these ladies are earning. But would the chain making companies obey the law of the land? No, they would not. The Chain Manufacturers Association refused to pay the legal minimum wage. Now, what's more, they put pressure on the lady chain makers. Were you forced to sign a paper?
Yes.
I'm sure you were. Yes, they were using the lady chain makers as pawns in order to discredit the Chain Trade Board, bring it into disrepute, and challenge its legal authority to set such a minimum wage. These ladies were coerced into signing a document. They were opting out of the minimum wage under the threat of no further work unless they signed such a document. Now, as I look around me, I can see one or two members of the CMA skulking in the crowd here.
Where is he? He's around.
And I say to you, shame on you for your actions against these women. Shame on you. Now, Miss Julia Varley here, myself and my son Charles Sitch, we've been organising things locally. We've set up a lockout office in the High Street, and we've also been busy organising meetings, rallies and marches. Miss Mary Macarthur here has been on a national lecture tour, telling people all over the country about the plight of the women chainmakers of Cradley Heath. Now, when we win this dispute, and make no mistake, we will win this dispute. I believe people in the future will look back on these events and see that we weren't just part of trade union history here, we made trade union history right here in Cradley Heath. Now, it gives me very great personal pleasure to introduce to you the lady I believe to be the greatest trade unionist of our time, indeed of any time. Please welcome Miss Mary Macarthur.
I recognise that many of you here today will be wondering what right I have, a stranger, to be here before you on behalf of these women chainmakers from Cradley Heath. But I hope to improve their lives for them. For making 1 yard of chain, we get 1 penny. That is what these women chainmakers tell us. 1 penny for a yard of chain, struck to last a lifetime.
Shame.
And these women work in conditions that would not be out of place in the Middle Ages. Well, I can tell you these conditions are out of place in 1910. We need to remind ourselves that we are now living in the 20th century, one in which we have the opportunity to help each other move forward to a fairer, more civilised world. It is not the God-given privilege, those born to wealth and privilege, whose number I count myself one, to live comfortably off the backs of others like yourselves. I feel it is only right and fair that I use my accident of privilege to assist and support these Cradley women in their struggle for better rates of pay. Do you know, my first glimpse of Cradley Heath was on a dark November afternoon. From the window of my train carriage, I could see inside the iron gratings of a long, low shed. The red glow of the forge fires and the dim shadows of the toiling workers put me in mind of some Middle Ages torture chamber, the likes of which you will only see in Madame Tussauds in London. Women of all ages were at work in these forges with their children around their feet, and they'd been there since 7 o'clock that morning, a mere 12-hour day. And to those of you who know little or nothing of the chainmakers, let me tell you more. The oldest chainmaker I have spoken to is 79 years of age. Still working full-time at her forge, and her children and children's children are all slaves at the forge. At the end of each long week, the chainmakers can look forward to
earning between 5 and 8 shillings. And on that they have to feed, clothe and house their families. These women are barely enough to keep starvation at bay. And I have heard it said that none of the Chainmakers' houses need larders, for they all live hand to mouth.
Yep, it's true.
Right. And so the hopeless, despairing struggle for existence goes on, unless we can gather together our strength and courage and go forward as one. Things do not have to remain so because they've always been so. There are some good men amongst the employers and some misguided men. Those who are truly gentlemen will see our struggle for a fair and just rate of pay as a realistic one. Divided we can do nothing, but together we are mighty and as strong as the chain you make. Why not join with us? Leave your forges, let your fires grow cold. Yes, the employers have been stockpiling cheap chain at your expense, but it'll be not be for long before they're wondering who's going to make the next lot.
I'll find someone.
No, you won't, sir. For already 800 Cradley women have downed tools. In doing so, they're going to rise up against injustice for the future of their industry and that of their children. They will march for freedom and the right to earn tuppence halfpenny an hour. Many of you women have already been duped by underhand means. The right to a minimum wage has already been agreed by many of the manufacturers. This call for action is to support all those of you who had little or no schooling, but who have been forced to mark your marks on the petitions of your employers, giving away your right to earn a minimum wage. Why not join with us? Join the National Federation of Women Workers. March with us for freedom and the right. And I will give you my word. Not one of you will go hungry. For freedom and the right.
Well, I say, Miss Macarthur, you will rule the day that you started this law. You will
You'll all suffer for this.
I'll meet you at the front.
What do we want? When do we want it? Somebody take it up. What do we
welcome back Miss Mary Macarthur.
Today marks the day of victory for the women Chainmakers of Cradley Heath. I can now report to you that the last meeting of our strike was held yesterday at Granger's Lane School, and the vast majority of all your employers have now signed the white list. Yay! This is the list of manufacturers who will pay the new rates. Today, ladies, you can hold your heads up high and be assured of the dignity of your worth. But to the manufacturers and employers, I say this: this is no defeat. Indeed, this is the day on which we all move forward to a fairer, more civilised world, in which those with more give back to those who have little. Now, this struggle has not been without its sacrifices, particularly those women who risk their livelihoods through their strike action. And rest assured, ladies, your names will go down in history as the Cradley women who rose up against poverty wages for sweated labour. I sincerely hope that your story will be kept alive in the Black Country and beyond for many, many generations to come. Now, women of all ages have played their parts in this victory, from the fresh-faced young girls just beginning their apprenticeships to the oldest strikers of them all. 79-year-old Mrs. Patience Round. 67 years she has stood at her forge, rising at 4 a.m. each morning and finishing work as the light fades. In her lifetime she has made over 3,000 miles of chain. And in all those 67 years she has only had 2 days away from her forge. And do you know, she was with us. Let me quote you her exact words. "These are wonderful times," she said. "I never thought I should live to assert the rights of us women." Yes! Now, it is time to build on your strength, women of Cradley. Unity is strength and union is strength. A trade union is like a bundle of sticks. The workers are bound together and have the strength of unity. A single worker, not in a union, is like a single stick. She can be easily broken or bent to the will of her employer. Remember, an employer can do without one of his workers. He cannot do without you all. And you have proved this for your actions. This is just a first step. Who knows what you women can go forward and achieve in the future? Now, my work here is almost at an end. And you no longer need a Mary Macarthur to lead you in your marches. You are finding your own leaders amongst you and your own voices. But even on this day of victory, we need to remind ourselves that which was so hard won is so easily lost. We all know too well that a woman's work is never done. Yes. I wish you all a fond farewell.
Hey, Mr. Bradley, have you got something for me, have you?
Bloody pay ya. Bloody
Go on then. There's your shilling.
Hey! Yay!
Don't get choked on it.